Good evening, everyone. Want to welcome you to the Unionville Town Board meeting of February 19th. And we'll start out with a pledge to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the minutes for January 15th here in front of us. Motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Like to request that we add an executive session at the end of the meeting to do a personnel interview. Get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Opposed? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Okay, so supervisor's report, I have been working on the annual reports that are due to the various agencies that govern us. Kind of tedious to do it, but it's something we got to get done. Over the weekend, the highway superintendent had posted about a condition here that we have had a shortage on the salt. And there were some negative responses to that, and I just wanted to clear up that there is a shortage of salt here in the Northeast for several reasons. A good portion of salt that comes into the country is from overseas and shipped here. They've had severe storms, and the shipping companies haven't been able to travel because of those storms. So that's part of the reason. And then the supplier that we use, we are under contract with Dutchess County, is a very northern portion of the state. And for whatever reason, they haven't been able to produce the salt as fast as they had told us. And getting it to us has been a bit of a problem. We are back in shape now. We've got a couple deliveries in hand and ready to go for the next storm. But again, that was no fault of the highway superintendent. I also noticed here with the last snowstorm that quite a number of our residents are pushing their snow out into the town roads. And you really need to stop that or speak with your snowplow contractor and have them stop that. It is prohibited and it creates an unsafe condition. Every place that I was through was after the town had gone through and cleared the roads. And in many cases, the edge of the road has been encroached by 2 to 3 feet. And it makes an unsafe condition. So if you can avoid that, please, and help us out. We'll move on to the board member reports. Councilman Welsh.
Yeah, I was aware of the salt crisis and the complaints, and I looked into it myself. This, like Steve said, is a widespread problem. I very much commend our highway department and in particular for getting such a good job this weekend under certain circumstances were very difficult. It made the salt we have go a long way, and the roads were in excellent shape. And as bad as it is here, it's worse in other places. School districts in Connecticut couldn't even open because there was no salt at all to treat the roads with all that ice. So it was unpleasant here, back in shape, but it was worse elsewhere.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Harrington.
Yeah, I was on top of this latest storm also. This was a particularly bad storm in the sense that not only do we have heavy wet snow on top of already having ice, but we had more rain on top of that, creating more ice. And so there was a heavy amount of moisture in that snowfall that when it did get pushed out, it created ice, which was tough to move even a little bit later. If somebody came home and that stuff was already frozen, they were moving it with a shovel, and it was even tough for some of the smaller plow trucks. I was in Poughkeepsie today. They had the same problem all throughout the Vassar area. It was terrible. You couldn't walk across the street places because you had just go to the one place where it was clear. So that's made this problem worse for us. And I've been staying on top of the library. I don't quite have anything to report yet. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Derlin.
Not much to report other than I agree with the sentiments of the other two councilmen and Steve. That the salt was a problem, but I think Ed does his best. I know he does his best. So I commend him for what he does in the face of adversity. That's about it.
Very good. Councilman McGivney.
Yes, as some of you know, we recently passed a resolution about a year ago, giving a 10% exemption for the fire department EMS members here in town. I wrote out a letter, I sent it to the school districts, encouraging them to also think about maybe also giving a exemption for fire EMS. So I did that, and as the other members said, I'd like to commend Ed and his crew and Vinny and his crew with this past storm and the ice conditions that they had to deal with. They all did a great job.
It was a long extended storm and they put a lot of hours in and we can all appreciate what they did. Thank you. Town clerk report.
Thank you. We had our Valentine's for Veterans event this past Saturday, the one before. And it was very successful. We were joined by town of Beekman and we had residents from both towns come. It was a really nice day. Second, as Councilman McGivney spoke, the exemption for the firefighters, the paperwork is available either online or you can request it from town hall. We'll print it for you. But just a reminder for all the volunteer and EMS workers that they are due by March 1st and we're happy to help you fill them out. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Highway Department.
Okay, just a quick note on the salt issue. The salt was ordered on the 6th of February. We didn't get our first load until the 17th. The reason the shed is low on salt is because we only have 50% capacity because of the damage to the salt shed.
Right.
Which I'm hoping our engineer will talk about later on. So we can't fill it. So the orders coming in have to come in when we order it. As per our contract, the company, our vendor, has 5 business days to get it to us. They took 11 to get it to us. So my opinion, they're in breach of contract. I'm talking with the county now to see if there's any recourse for us. Reading through the contract, if we have to, and we did, add salt, sand, or we use 1/4-inch stone chip to make the salt stretch between the deliveries, the order time, and when the delivery gets here, we should be refunded for partial portions of that. So we're looking into that as well. So that's all I got about the salt. One of our trucks, truck 9, has a bad EGR cooler, which is part of the emissions of the truck and related parts. The estimate to get that truck repaired, and that is truck 9. The estimate for that is $12,500. I'd like the board to approve it so that we can get the fleet back up to 100%.
I looked at this with the accountant today. We have $40,000 in the repair line for Highway Department. So it is something that we can fund. I don't think we have much choice other than to
Yeah,
have it
have a truck.
repaired, yeah.
Make the motion now and get done while Ed's here.
I'd like to do that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We allocate 12,500 for the EGR cooler replacement on truck 9.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carrie, thank you.
Okay, all the other trucks we're trying to keep up as best we can. With these storms, obviously things are going to break, so we're on top of it as best we can be. I am in the search for 2 new to us plow blades. We have a couple that are probably 30+ years old, so they've far past their lifespan. So I'm budgeting some money for that, put it to the side, so.
Okay.
All right, and, a few months ago, I mentioned something about some of our roads that are more driveways than roads.
Mhm.
Right.
We made any progress on that?
I have to get that in
Attorneys?
front of our new attorney.
Okay.
The previous attorney that hadn't had a chance to address it.
Okay.
So I will get that in front
Any
of
of the
him.
board members, are you familiar with any of the roads I'm referring to?
I am,
I
yes.
am.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I mean, the one at the end of Sealy, there's room to turn a truck around.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
The resident that lives up there seems to want to park her car in the courtyard, which would
Yeah.
be the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And I do that run with the Oshkosh truck, which is pretty large, so,
Mhm. Yeah, it's fun with the fire truck too.
oh, I can't imagine a fire truck. That's all the highway has for tonight.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Tax collector report.
Good evening. Hi, guys. So as of now, we have 34% in. As of last year, we had 39%. So we're a little bit behind. I have not received escrow. For some reason, the banks like to FedEx them to us on the 28th. So I'll be busy the 28th and pretty much all day. We are planning on getting those checks out. Hopefully we'll get one out tomorrow and then a few more out next week to you guys so Ed could have his money. Ed, thank you for all you do. I know that was a stressful weekend and you did all you could. So thank you. And Kevin McGivney, I just want to thank you for following through on that for our firefighters because they truly deserve it. And one more thing, last week I didn't get to talk after George Cole, but he's going to be highly missed. And I thank each one of you board members for agreeing to bring a deputy in because he's one of the best in our county. So thank you, guys. Oh,
Thank you.
one more thing. Sorry. February 28th is the due date for our taxes. And please make sure that if you put it in the mailbox, get it hand stamped by the post office because anything that is received in our office and not hand stamped, I have to charge you the 2% penalty. So please, again, make sure it's hand stamped. Also, March 1st is the deadline for Eric, our assessor, to get the 65 and older people in there to make sure you get your exemption on those school taxes. And Andrea and I are always here if you guys have anything. Thank you. for all
Good reminders. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, Councilman Welsh, you'd like to read the recreation report? She wasn't able to be here tonight.
Yep. Okay. Recreation report, our traditional camp program is officially sold out for all 4 sessions. There are a few seats left on our teen leadership and kids camp programs. We have started wait lists for any full programs. Parents/guardians can call the park office to put on the wait list. As we get closer to spring, information for public swim lessons and pool memberships will be posted on our social media pages, Parks and Recreation website around the end of March. Our team is already starting to plan our egg hunts for the all event and the schedule for Saturday, August 19th. Be on the lookout for registration/information on the event, as well as our annual volunteer egg stuffing date on the social media pages and on the website within the coming weeks.
Just a correction, it's April.
Okay, all right. I hope they can get some eggs.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Councilman Harrington, are you able to read the
Park report?
park report, please?
Sure. Park report 2025. We're still taking down Christmas decorations. We have refinished the sign for the senior center entrance. We've started taking down trees and clearing brush along the creek side past the concrete bridge toward the Furnace Pond hiking trail. Our dump truck is currently in the shop waiting on parts, so we're still borrowing the highway truck to deal with large amounts of ice we have gotten. With the shortage of salt we are experiencing, please be careful of icy areas around the parks. We are still looking for a weekend maintenance person. We will be conducting some interviews this week, but people can still apply through the Indeed posting.
Okay, thank you. And that's, we do have an opening coming up here, in our park staff. So anyone that would be interested in that, certainly take a look at it. Okay,
Did the park struck get fixed? I saw it.
it is he predicted about 2 weeks for
2 more weeks?
the parts to
Oh,
arrive.
okay,
Yeah, the
okay.
part, he told us that, in the beginning that it would take about 2 weeks
Okay, good.
for the parts to come in. So it's awaiting that. Did I not print that animal control?
I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't think I printed it. We'll have to hit that one on the next meeting. Okay, we're down to public comment on agenda items. Anyone? Agenda items, yeah, okay. New business. In the past, we've had a recycle center manager. And when Tom St. Ange resigned from it, it was never filled. Pete Poltrak is pretty much serving as the manager there. And I would like to reinstate that position and with some sort of a stipend. There's quite a bit of record keeping that needs to occur through the year, and I'm discovering this in filling out the annual reports that we have to file with the state. I've spent a number of hours having to research all the tickets that have passed through for the recycle center to get the volume numbers down and such. So if there was if the manager were taking care of that for us, it would make it much easier to file these reports. I haven't come up with a number yet, but I wanted to float the idea in front of you, and I think Pete does a phenomenal job there. I've stopped in and to see him in action, and he is essentially the recycle center
Yeah,
manager,
for sure.
whether he carries the title or not. I'd like to revisit that position.
I think he does a great job.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's been something that's been left undone for a while.
When Tom was there, was there a stipend for him?
Yes, yeah, and
Do you
I
remember
don't
what
know
it
what that number was, but I'll look into that. And Tom, I don't know if you've heard, Tom has announced he's retiring.
Oh, really?
I believe around June timeframe,
Okay.
but he has offered to work with Peter to, learn some of the things that, he was doing as the manager. But, what I will do if you guys are interested in doing that, I will get together some numbers at the next meeting.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Old business, salt shed update. I'm gonna turn it over to Tom Harvey here, our town engineer.
I'm very familiar with it. Thank you.
So we've been working on the salt shed replacement for a while, working with Ed on the guide of kind of how we design it and stuff. If you look at that first page of what we have here, you have an existing aerial of the existing highway garage site. And then on the right-hand side, we have the proposed barn replacement. We're essentially proposing to replace the salt barn in the same location and generally as the same size as it is, with the addition of 4 bays on the side for materials or equipment that might need to be parked in there and kept under dry areas. So that's about the most basic building we can do. The concept for that building right now is a poured concrete foundation on 3 walls. So the sides, the back would be concrete, and then the front would be timber posts, essentially a pole barn. And then we'll have a pole barn essentially sitting on top of this concrete foundation. Because this salt barn or salt barns in general are not just a building, it's a retaining system for retaining the salt inside with a building on top of it to keep it dry. So we've got the plans together. We're just about ready to go out to bid. We could be ready in about 2 weeks to go out to bid. And then the last page I have there is the estimate that we prepared, which was updated this year. It includes work done by town forces, which Ed has offered some of his guys and his expertise and his equipment to help with the relocation of the existing salt material, demolishing the existing structure, and some site restoration work. So that's a value of about $35,000 that would be in town forces. And then the other costs in here are $29,000 in basically engineering costs, much of which have always been paid for and billed last year to get the design to this point. And then the remaining cost is the construction cost with, or we have an estimated total of around $400,000 for the project. So we carried contingencies in town administration that would round it up to 432 or so. If that stuff is necessary, we always recommend carrying some contingencies just when things kind of get out of hand a little bit. So any questions so far on what we're showing on the plans?
I don't see a pitch on the floor. Is that floor pitched?
It isn't because it should be kept dry.
We have enough funds in our capital improvement line that we can cover this, and we also have been awarded a $50,000 grant towards this as well. I think it's always better to use cash than to put something on a bond.
That's for sure. Before it go.
Yeah, I mean, the barn has been patched at this point and is held together by cabling. And as Ed mentioned, it's at a reduced capacity now too, because of that. I think it's something that we have to do.
Yeah, this-
Never really designed well.
Yeah, and it's at least 10 years we've been needing to replace it.
Right.
I think it's past its useful life. Most of these barns that have the post in the ground, which that one does, those posts are going.
Yeah.
What I see in the new ones is they need, if they're using a pole barn style or any wood, they put them up on footings up above the ground. And then the other thing that was suggested for this scenario, there is a potential for an alternate with precast foundation. We've been looking into that. There's basically a T-shaped foundation wall that could offer some cost savings. But because this is sort of a last minute attempt, it would delay us getting out to bid. We would
I
need
don't think
probably,
they're as durable either.
I don't think so
Just
either. And what we
precast.
see shows the footing sitting on top of the ground rather than buried in
Yeah.
the ground. So there is potential for frost heaving with that.
Yeah.
So we looked into that. It might be worth pursuing for cost, but I'm not sure you're gonna get that much savings. We weighed pros and cons. You have to get a crane in. There's more cons than pros with that, I think. And until we get bids, we don't really know if it's more cost effective.
Mhm.
We could potentially get an estimate on the precast, but until we get a bid from the bid
Sure.
on the poured
Yeah.
concrete, we don't really know what to compare it to.
I have a question on the concrete. It's more just out of curiosity. With the salt and the reaction with the concrete, the spalling and stuff, is it special concrete that they use? For
There's an additive that we plan to put in it when it's mixed.
Like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and then this design is sort of a custom design that avoids any wood from being in any contact with the salt. So the salt would only be in contact with the concrete,
Which would be
and
treated.
we won't have the problem we have now.
Tom, how thick are the walls?
The walls are about 10 inches thick. If you look at those section details on that second page, essentially what it is a 10-inch thick wall with a shelf
Yeah.
that receives the posts for that pole barn that
Right.
would be built on it. So it's kind of like a shelf, and those are built in and bolted into that so that the salt is bearing against the concrete, but the wood is protected on both sides, on the outside by siding and on the inside by siding or the concrete.
Yeah.
What is the lifespan of this building?
With this design and this concrete, I believe it's going to be a 50-year lifespan, maybe better. And then with this scenario, there could be potential that the concrete's still good after the wood is bad, and it could be used again. Ed pointed out, and we noticed that they did a new salt barn at the Wassaic substation for the DOT down on Route 22. So I stopped by and took a look at that. What that was a concrete base with these precast walls that used to have the soft, like tent-like fabric on top of it, which that lasted 10 to 15 years like it was projected to. And now what they've done is left that concrete in place from the old building that retains the salt and built a new pole barn on the outside of it. But it is huge. So I've tried to find out more information on that in terms of who bid it, so we can use and piggyback on some of that in terms of notifying bidders when things is out to bid. We say, this is out to bid, you bid on this other pole barn, you might want this one. So we want to get that list and still pursue those costs just so we know more going into this bid. I've laid out a scenario for schedule, if you want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So if we were going to avoid the precast, we think we could be out to bid by March 11th. And then if we kept it out for bid for about 2 months, we could have bids in by May 13th. We could award it potentially at the May 21st board meeting. We could have 3 months of construction if we started on June 16th and be done by September 16th. So I think that's I don't think it's gonna take that long to build it, but I think it may, if there's any lead time, trusses or things like that. So, I think if we give them 3 months, that's a hard deadline. If they finish in 2 months, there'll be no complaints.
It's a fairly simple design, and I think once they get going, it should go fairly quickly.
I think so too.
Door on the gable. Just open.
Just open, which is how the DOT one was as well. Now theirs was high enough so you could dump inside. I don't think we can do that.
There were doors on the original ship.
Yep.
But
Okay. We do have the plan to put bollards around it to protect it from getting bumped into over the years, things like that might happen. And then, we're open to any other input you guys might have.
Quick question about the back wall.
Mhm.
That's the one that everybody pushes against. We're confident that we don't need any further reinforcement besides it being 10 inches thick. I'm sure there's a ton of rebar in it.
Yeah, there is a ton of rebar in it and it also goes below grade. If you look at, that one detail, you have a full spread footing below grade.
so you have like pilasters on the back.
We don't have any pilasters on the back, it's flat. And that's the other thing that comes to the precast. There are buttresses in the precast, so they take up more space as well, on the outside in
And the
particular.
potential for accidents.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Potential for accidents, people could knock into them or run into them.
Right, that's always a potential,
Yeah.
but with this building, it's gonna be thick enough, so it shouldn't be a problem if it wasn't.
Okay.
Should be.
Any other discussion on this? You wanna entertain the idea of letting Tom put a bid package together? Or do you wanna do more investigating on it? I think we're at a
Basic lighting.
point that we should, get some kind of idea which
Yeah,
direction
and
we're
this-
to go.
This is 10 years in the making. I'd like to
Right.
see us move ahead as soon as we can. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Want borrowed time with that thing.
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of time to stretch this out if
No.
we're gonna bid it back in service to
Right.
put
Yeah,
salt in it for next winter.
right.
And that's an important thing to consider is, having it ready for next season.
Absolutely, yeah.
What is the strength on the concrete?
The PSI strength,
Yes,
we started at minimum 4,000. I'll have to look at our technical specs to see if it should be more than that.
okay, thank you. I think we should proceed.
Yeah, I'm inclined to go that direction as well. Put this out to let him finish up finalize the plans and put a bid package together.
Mhm.
I like the storage too on the side,
Yeah, good thinking.
sanders or whatever. Keep out of the weather.
I think what we would do is prepare that for the next meeting, you think, or you need more time than that?
I don't know if you need to meet on it again. I mean, if you were wanting to vote to put it out to bid now, I think that's all we need to go out to bid.
You
Uh,
okay with that, Ian?
Thank you. So they can vote now to have him produce the bid specifications and then we can approve all of that at the next meeting. And then formally put it out to bid.
Yeah, I thought that might be the procedure.
What's, I figured for March 11th, your next meeting would be 2 weeks from today.
March 5th.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think we could probably work with that.
Okay. So
This project also fall on the vendors, the state.
I've checked into that and I'm not finding any that do
Like
this type of
framing.
work. Yeah.
It's hard to find a connection for that because it's a pole barn and it's concrete. I think a lot of the guys will either do foundation and concrete work or heavy timber work. It's hard to get a guy that does both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do have a line on several good ones. So, we're gonna make sure that they'll get the bid back.
And then the other thing to talk about was seeker for this.
That was my next question.
So there was a short AF prepared by our office and given to Steve. And I don't know if anybody else has had a chance to look at that.
No, I just got that recently and I'll get that out to you guys. I got to get it up to people who are writing the grant as well.
Tom, I can work with you on that.
Okay. If you want me to share it, do you want me to email it again? To Ian?
I have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can get it out to them.
It's pretty straightforward. It was just a short EAF. I think it's a type 2, but we can look at that further.
I'll forward that to you as well.
Yeah, perfect. We'll put that as part of the resume.
So, motion to have him put a bid package together based on the plans we've reviewed.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. Thank you.
Any other questions you guys want to ask about that?
Nope, thanks for having all this ready.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Okay, excuse me. Last meeting, I spoke about the sponsoring 3 Little League teams for a cost of $750. Spoke with that about, with the attorney. We have a past practice of doing this, and I spoke with our recreation director. She can spare the $750 from her recreation contractual line, which is 7989.4, which would make it a recreation program. And I think would meet the requirements to satisfy our attorney. I'd like to pick that back up again and give our resident children here an opportunity to do Little League. Any discussion on that?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's been a tradition for many years.
So motion to that effect, spend $750 to sponsor 3 teams with LaGrange Little League.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. That brings us to public comment on town issues. Anyone? Okay. Just name and address when you get up there, please. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Heidi Tucci and I live at 95 Bloomer Road. I'm speaking tonight to bring awareness and inspire activism regarding an issue that affects the many veterans who live in our town and throughout Dutchess County. The local branch of the Veterans Administration has made the decision to close the acute care unit at the Castle Point VA Hospital. This unit is critical to veterans who are in crisis. This is where they go if they are experiencing drug and alcohol related problems and mental health crises, which may include ideations of suicide. In short, this unit saves lives. Veterans need specialized VA care that cannot be given at local hospitals. They need comrades and staff who understand the unique situation and effects from having actively served. If these brave men and women are forced to seek help at local hospitals, many of them just won't. These people are famous for being the first to offer help to others and the last to ask for help when they need it. I'm urging this board and our Unionville citizens to handwrite letters and post wherever applicable a similar call to action in defense of our veterans. I've created these cards which have the person and the address where to send these letters, and I can hand these to the board. They all say the same thing there, the address. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can post that on the website as well.
Good, yeah. Gotta help the veterans.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comment on town issues? Yep. Just name and address.
McFarland, 15 Burbank Club Road, Burbank, New York. I came in just to, over the past couple of meetings, it's come to our attention of the trustees of the library board that there's been a lot of numbers flying around with regard to what the library has cost. So here simply to put some clarity around that. Not going to deal with any of the politics around it, as we kind of all know. Once the politics comes in, the transparency goes out the window. But I heard a couple of weeks ago in a meeting, numbers like 400,000, 500,000. George Culp spoke at the last meeting very eloquently about the great job that his department does. We have nothing but full support for him and his folks. And it was sort of framed in a way that made it appear that the budget for the library was preventing other things from happening. The budget issues aside, let's talk about real numbers. Budget for the library in 2023 was $112,500. In 2023, the library spent $47,790. We'll call it 48,000, so it's roughly $65,000 left over. In 2024, the budget was 227,900. Of that amount, 77,193 was spent, leaving over $150,000 left over. We know there was an encumbrance that was done a couple of years ago. That money was not allocated in a way that was needed to be paid the next year. It wasn't used. So we're talking about now ultimately $250,000 that was reabsorbed back into the general fund of the town, not spent by the library. Lastly, we talked about, there was a discussion last meeting, I'm sorry, with regard to the budget for the library being inserted after the initial budget, and it was $200,000, which was causing a budget issue or a budget gap, if you will, that prevented employees from getting appropriate raises. That was preventing George Cole from being able to hire an assistant. I couldn't stress enough that not only was the original budget, as you know, Steve, for the library was 150, not 227,900. So we're talking about a difference of about $80,000, not $200,000. Secondly, we'd be more than happy, as it's clear, right, as the library has cost on average over the past 2 years, $62,500 per year. Not 200,000, not 400,000, not 97,000, not 180,000. All those numbers get thrown around casually in these meetings. These numbers are auditable. They're here in the town. We can sit down and talk to Sarah about it. You can audit them. There's nothing about the numbers that aren't available publicly and transparently. So I want to make sure that we're talking about real numbers, not perceptions. Lastly, we're more than happy because right now the library spent about $600. The allocation from the adjusted library budget is $227,900. I think we're confident in saying that there's no chance that money is going to be fully spent this year. And if it's a matter of the library board sitting down with the board of trustees, the town board, the supervisor to talk about helping to close a budget gap, we're more than happy to do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Excuse me. Any other public comment? Yes.
Greenmore, 5 Darren Road. I had not planned to say anything tonight. However, after having followed the person who was just in front of me, I feel that I need to straighten some things out. Yes, there's not been a lot being spent by the library right now. Betsy Moss herself said the average that will probably be cost for the town would be $249,000. And that was a low estimate. And I hope that the town board members read the information that in the letter that I gave last meeting, which showed what other libraries are costing towns around us. It's not 60, it's not 100. It's in the $400,000 range, the $300,000 range, the $600,000 range. And I don't think it's quite fair of somebody who is on the trustees or representing the library to come and bend the numbers in the way that they were just bent. So I'd like to remind the town board members, please read the letter that I wrote and I presented last meeting because those numbers are accurate.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session. We are going to do a personnel interview. When we return, we will discuss that interview and then conclude the meeting. You're welcome to stay. Don't expect it to take too awful long, but wanted to give you a heads up of what we'd like to do. So
All right, I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. No money was appropriated and no decisions were made. I'd like to entertain a motion to have our attorney draw up a resolution to bring Mr. William Dempsey in as our deputy, building inspector.
Second that.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. The motion to pay the bills? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Our next meeting will be March 5th here at 7:30. And have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, and need a second on that, I'm sorry. Second on the,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, folks. See you next time around.
2 weeks.